I'm thrilled today to have on the phone John Regan, who we just heard some of the music that he performed in. We heard Peter Frampton, Baby I Love Your Way, and we also just heard Bowie and Jagger. Let's get him on the line, and let's say...
Oh, good evening, Rita. It's so good to be with you today.
Oh, and it's so nice to have you. You're a first-time guest, which nowadays is pretty cool. So thank you, Fern, and thank you, John, for your time here. Let me start out, if I may, with a brief introduction before we begin our conversation. I'll start out by saying bassist and producer John Regan has worked with countless musicians, including Peter Frampton, Dave Edmunds, Stephen Stills, John Waite, David Lee Roth, just to name a few. He is a founding member of Ace Frehley's band, Frehley's Comet. He's recorded with Mick Jagger and David Bowie, Billy Idol, Robin Trower, again, just to name a few. His band Easy Street will be performing at the Chance Theater in Poughkeepsie this Friday, May 20th. And with that, a warm welcome to Local Motion, Mr. John Regan.
Thank you so much, Rita. Again, so great to be with you on a spectacular spring day in the Hudson Valley.
It really, truly is. What I always like to do is I always step back in time a little, and I'll say, this is your life, John Regan. You're from the area, is that correct?
Yes, born and bred in Wappingers Falls, New York.
That's amazing.
About 2 blocks away from where I was born. I didn't get very far.
Well, you got pretty far. You just circled back here, that's all. You traveled the whole wide world. There's only a few musicians, and I've done 320 of these shows that I've interviewed where I can say the musician actually was born and raised here. You're like one of 3, I think, that I can think of right now. So that's a pretty cool thing. I understand your first instrument was in high school playing the baritone saxophone?
Oh my gosh! Now you got a lot of information that no one's supposed to know, Rita. I don't know how you got a hold of that one.
Oh, it's in articles. It's all out there. That's not a bad thing, though, is it?
No, I'm just kidding. No, I actually started playing tenor saxophone very badly, and then switched over to baritone, just a tad better than that. But that's where I got my love of that bass sound.
And I love the story. It was some article I read. I mean, I do my homework, right? And I understand that your dad made you go get a haircut while you were in high school, and on your way to the barber, you were running down the hill and you slipped on some ice and broke your leg. Tell me this story, because this is how you wound up being a bass player.
But you're absolutely right, and you got the front end of it correct. I think I probably came home one night. I don't know. I don't want to say what was going on, but my father was not very happy with me the next morning, and he basically, go down and get that damn haircut, kid. And he said I was running down the hill to the barber shop and slipped on some ice, broke my leg, crawled back home, got probably a nice little beating for breaking my leg, because now my father had to take me to the hospital. But once I had a full cast put on, it's very hard to play a baritone saxophone, because that's a giant piece of metal. Mm-hmm. And my best friend back then, the gentleman that turned me on to so much great music, Benji Levine, he was a bass player, fabulous bass player. And he goes, well, let me lend you this little, I got a spare bass guitar, so he lent me these little red hacks from bass. And I just remember getting a Young Rascals album at that time. And I dropped the needle on the record, and Mustang Sally came on, and I just started plunking away those 3 notes or 4 notes. And I said, wait a minute, this is pretty cool stuff. And it's a lot easier to carry this around than it is that big hunk of baritone saxophone. And I just started learning probably in the few weeks that I was immobilized, and I never turned back from there. So
amazing.
It was a auspicious occasion despite a broken leg.
Yeah, it really was. You know, it's amazing how that really defined your future, really. What were you listening to at the time when you were in high school? What kind of music?
Oh, my God. Well, obviously the Beatles. Mm-hmm. That was 64. So I would have been, I don't know, I graduated in 69. I would have been in 7th or 8th grade. And I just remember that first
the
Ed Sullivan
legendary
Show.
rock and roll, the same time as a bassist, and the acclaimed rock bassist that is John Regan has died. Then there has been no cause of death to be revealed in this exact moment in time. But of course, Regan had performed, we all know, with Roth. He acted as also a drummer for Anton Fig of The Late Show with David Letterman's fame, and Oregon Kiss guitarist Ace Frehley in the band The Frehleys' Comet. He's been regarded as one of the greatest bassists and one of the most talented guys within the rock and roll genre. According to the so many sources we can see here, it's believed that Regan met Frehley in the mid-1980s at a friend's recording studio in White Plains, New York. This is actually being revealed by him in one of the interviews he made just a few years ago. The two actually got together for a jam session playing Jimi Hendrix and of course the Led Zeppelin tunes, and that led to Regan's involvement with Frehley Comet, that popular band you can always see in the entire US. Actually, you can even look it up via YouTube, and even a couple of videos they've been giving out, free videos on their official Facebook page, that is Ace Frehley. His tenure with the band actually lasted until around, I think, 1990 to 1991, and when he was asked in one of the interviews about Frehley, Regan just frankly said that he's actually really in good spirits, and he can only remember good times during his time in there. And regarding the allure of Kiss, the hard rockers known for outlandish costumes and of course makeup, Regan said it was almost like gating a rock band and the circus at the same night. It was an event, and it was really multi-sensory experience. It was a total immersion in this spectacle that nobody was doing. In, by the way, another interview he held, I think it was 2016 to 2017 there, John stated about his approach to working with big name artists, and in his words he said, "Ideally, have been fortunate to have worked with so many big artists, and that did not dictate on any level, keeping in mind that I have always approached my contribution to a recording or live performance as one of the facilitator. By that I mean it's always in the forefront of my mind to try and play my bass parts to best serve the song singer and fellow musicians." By the way, he worked with Peter Frampton in a particular song and on several projects, so he's not fazed by working with bigger artists. So he's been regarded as one of those guys in the rock and roll genre who is actually being idolized, because he also takes his mentorship from the likes of Billy Idol, Mick Jagger, David Bowie, the Rolling Stones, and so many other big artists. So in this moment in time, we are sending our prayers to him, and all we can say is RIP.